Do you ever feel nervous when you speak English? I did, for many years, but one day, something happened, and it changed everything. This is not a perfect story, but it is a real one. I want to tell you how I stopped being scared to speak English. My name is Daniel. I'm not from an English-speaking country. In my town, English was just another subject in school, but for me, it felt like a big, scary thing. A tall wall I could never climb. I liked English songs and movies. I liked learning new words, but speaking was a nightmare for me. In school, we had to read short English texts out loud. I hated those moments. When the teacher called my name, my heart started to race. My hands became sweaty. I would look down, pretend to read, and hope it ended fast. Sometimes, I stuttered. Other times, I couldn't speak. My classmates didn't laugh, but I still felt embarrassed. At home, I practiced with my books. I did my homework, but I never spoke English. One day in class, we had to do a dialogue in pairs. My partner looked at me. I just nodded. When I opened my mouth, nothing came out. Not one word. My teacher waited. My classmates watched, but I couldn't speak. That evening, I told myself, "You are not made for English." I gave up. For the next 2 years, I stayed quiet. I never raised my hand. I never joined group work. I just listened and wrote. When it was time to speak, I hid. I watched English videos alone. I liked English, but I didn't use it. I didn't try to speak. I felt like a car without a key. Then came a turning point. I got a job in a small travel office. My boss said, "You will speak to tourists." I smiled and said, "Okay." But inside, I was scared again. I thought, what if I say something wrong? What if they laugh? The first week, I only said hello and thank you. I smiled to hide the fear. I avoided real conversations whenever I could. Then I met Leo. He worked in the same office. He wasn't a native English speaker, but he spoke so easily. I wanted to be like him. One day, I asked him, "How do you speak so confidently?" He laughed and said, "Because I don't try to be perfect. I just speak." His answer surprised me. I thought we had to be perfect. In English, he said, "Perfection is the enemy of progress." That night, I couldn't sleep. His words played in my head. I looked in the mirror and said, "My name is Daniel." My voice sounded strange. I laughed. But then I said it again, louder. "My name is Daniel. I work in a travel office." I did it again the next day. This time I said, "I live in a small town. I help people who visit." I started small, 1 sentence a day, just talking to myself. But each time felt a little stronger, a little more sure. After 1 week, I opened my phone and recorded my voice. I said, "Hello, my name is Daniel. I am practicing English today." I listened to the audio. I heard every pause, every wrong sound, but I didn't delete it. I saved it and made a new one next day. This time I said, "Today is Monday." I talked to myself in English again. My voice was less shaky. I was still nervous, but I could hear myself improving. After 1 week, I read short English stories aloud. I found simple texts for kids. 5 minutes a night, I read out loud. My mouth moved faster. The words came out more smoothly. Reading helped me practice without pressure. Then I found something online, a free English speaking group. They met once a week on video call. I joined but didn't talk. I just watched and listened. The next week, I said, "Hello, my name is Daniel." That was all. But it was a big step. People smiled and said, "Nice to meet you." That small kindness made me want to try again. I felt like I was not alone anymore. Leo said, "When you speak, don't think about grammar. Just try to connect." I started to believe him. English was not just a school subject. It was a bridge to other people. Now, I was using it not perfectly, but clearly. After that second meeting, I stayed in the group. Each week, I tried to say a little more. Sometimes I spoke for 1 minute. Sometimes only 1 sentence. But each time, I felt a little braver. I started to enjoy the experience. I was learning, not just English but courage too. One day, someone in the group said, "Daniel, you sound more confident now." That made me smile all day. It wasn't just about language anymore. It was about growth. I was becoming someone new, and I didn't want to stop. So I set a goal for myself. Every week, I would speak for 1 more minute. I didn't count the words. I just spoke from the heart. I talked about my job, my town, my favorite food, and my goals. I learned to describe my day in English, little by little. Each topic made me feel more relaxed, more real. The more I spoke, the less I feared mistakes. I learned to pause, breathe, and try again. One time, I said something totally wrong. Everyone laughed, but not in a bad way. They laughed with me, not at me. I laughed too. That moment was a big step. I didn't run. I didn't stop. I smiled and kept talking. That's when I felt it. Freedom. The freedom to be myself in English. The freedom to be imperfect. The group became my friends. We helped each other. We shared our struggles. We shared our victories. Some of us came every week. Some people joined for the first time. No one was perfect, and that was okay. Everyone had an accent. Everyone used simple words. We understood each other anyway. One Saturday, I spoke for 5 full minutes. I didn't even notice until someone said, "That was 5 minutes, Daniel." I smiled so wide. I felt proud, not of being perfect, but of not giving up. That's when I realized something. The fear was still there, but it wasn't in control. I had taken the driver's seat. I was not the scared boy from school anymore. I was Daniel, the English speaker, and that felt amazing. From that moment, I started to help new members in the group. When someone said, "Sorry for my bad English," I replied, "There's no bad English here." That became my motto. I realized how important it was to create a safe place to speak, a place where people could be themselves. Even if they made mistakes, it didn't matter. They were brave. They were trying, and that made them strong. The more I encouraged others, the more confident I became. It was like a circle of energy. Helping others helped me too. One day, the group leader asked me, "Daniel, can you host the next meeting?" I froze. Host? Me? But then I remembered Leo's words. I said yes. I was scared, but I did it. I opened the meeting, welcomed new members, and asked simple questions. At the end, people clapped and said, "Great job, Daniel." I felt something powerful in my chest like wings. I wanted to fly higher. That night, I recorded a voice message and sent it to Leo. I said, "Thank you. You showed me that I could do it." He replied, "You did the work." That message stayed with me. Yes, others can inspire you, but you must do the work. That's the secret. Try, fail, try again. Never stop. After that, I began helping lead more meetings. I asked questions, shared tips, and listened carefully. I wasn't perfect, but I was present. One evening, a new member from Brazil said, "Daniel, your story gave me hope." That touched my heart. I remembered my first meeting. I remembered the fear, the silence, the shaking hands. And now, someone saw me as an example. It felt unreal, but it was real. Speaking English helped me discover something new. My voice. Not just the sounds I make, but my ideas, my thoughts, my story. My experience meant something, and I wanted to share more. So I began writing short stories in English. At first, they were just a few lines. Simple stories about my day, my childhood, or funny things that happened at work. Writing helped me think in English. It helped me build sentences. I learned to describe feelings, events, and dreams. Then I began reading them out loud in the group. People listened. Some laughed. Some clapped. Some said, "I felt the same way." That connection made my heart full. English was not just a skill now, it was a way to connect, to feel seen and understood. Every sentence I wrote, every word I said, felt like a small piece of me. And people accepted that piece. That made me feel strong. After a few months, the group asked me to lead a story night. I was nervous, but I said yes. I picked one of my favorite stories. I practiced it over and over. I stood in front of my mirror and spoke each line with emotion. I smiled. I used my hands. I felt alive. When the night came, I told the story to the group. It was about a little boy who wanted to fly, but was too afraid. The boy fell many times, but one day, he spread his arms and jumped. The group was silent when I finished. Then they clapped. Someone said, "That boy is you, Daniel, and I realized they were right. That story was not about someone else. It was my story. From then on, I kept writing more. I wrote about fear, about learning, about making friends. Each story helped someone. English became my tool, my instrument, my bridge. I started to post short audio clips online. I didn't expect many people to listen, but they did. A man from India wrote, "Thank you. Your voice helped me feel brave." A woman from Egypt said, "I shared this with my class." These messages gave me more motivation. I kept going. One clip, then two, then five. Slowly, my voice started reaching people around the world. It didn't matter that I wasn't perfect. What mattered was that I was real, that I was trying, that I was speaking. One morning, I woke up and saw a message from a teacher in Vietnam. She asked if I could speak to her students online. I smiled. I said yes, of course. The students were nervous, but when I said, "I used to be afraid too," they smiled. We all understood each other. We didn't need perfect grammar. We needed courage, and we had it. That moment stayed with me. It showed me that English is a key to open doors, a key to make friends, to grow, to understand and be understood. I wasn't scared anymore. I was excited. Later that week, I joined another international group. This time, people came from 5 countries. I listened to accents, different styles, and yet, we all understood each other. We shared stories, not just grammar. We laughed, learned, and supported one another. That night, I realized something beautiful. English doesn't belong to one country. It belongs to all of us. It is ours to share. It doesn't matter if your accent is strong or soft, fast or slow. What matters is that you speak from the heart, that you connect. One person in the group said, "Daniel, you speak like you believe in every word." I smiled, because now, I really did. I believed in me. I started to keep a small notebook with me. Each time I heard or said something meaningful in English, I wrote it down. It became my collection of courage, phrases, quotes, little wins. It reminded me how far I'd come. One day, I looked at the first page. It said, "My name is Daniel," just that. Simple, but now it felt powerful. And that voice, once small and scared, was now strong and kind. A voice that said, "You can speak too. You are enough. Just start. Just try." After sharing my voice, I realized something deeper. Speaking English wasn't just about grammar or vocabulary. It was about connection. It was about courage. Every sentence was a step forward, a message from me to the world. Sometimes I spoke slowly. Sometimes I forgot a word. But I didn't stop. I kept going, because every small word mattered. And I saw it mattered to others too. I saw people listening, nodding, smiling. They understood me. Not because I was perfect, because I was real. That feeling gave me strength. And I wanted to give that same feeling to others. So I started volunteering at a language center. Once a week, I sat with beginners. I shared my story. I helped them with their first sentences. I told them, "I was you. You are me." One student named Max reminded me of myself. He was shy. He looked at the ground when speaking. His voice was quiet, but he came every week. And each week, he tried again. I listened closely to him. I gave him time. I never rushed him. I said, "Mistakes are welcome here." Slowly, Max opened up. He talked about his dog, his sister, his favorite food. He smiled more, and one day, he told a joke in English. We all laughed, not because it was perfect, but because it was brave. Max had found his voice too, and that made me proud. That's the magic of speaking. It's not about being right. It's about being true. English gave me that truth, and I passed it on. Now, when I see someone struggle with English, I don't see a mistake. I see a beginning, a brave start, a first step, and I say to them what Leo once said to me: "Don't wait to be perfect. Speak now. Speak proud. You are already enough." The language center became my second home. I met people from different countries. We shared laughs, questions, and simple conversations. I learned something from every person. Each story was different. Each voice was strong even when it shook. I started keeping notes again, not just my progress, but my students' first words, first jokes, first moments of courage. Every sentence was a small victory. One by one, we were breaking fear, not with big grammar lessons, but with human connection. Then one day, something big happened. A podcast host contacted me. She said she heard one of my stories online. She asked, "Would you like to be a guest and share how you learned to speak English without fear?" I said yes. But I was shaking. I had never spoken on a podcast. I was nervous, but I remembered my first group call, my first recording, my first mirror practice. So I wrote a few notes, took a deep breath, and joined the podcast. I shared my journey, my fears, my mistakes, and my growth. When it aired, I didn't know what to expect. But then I received messages, hundreds of them, from all over the world. People said, "Thank you for being honest. You helped me believe in myself. Now, I want to speak too," and that changed me. Say your name, say one sentence, say anything, because your voice matters. Your words are enough. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present. The first word is the hardest, but after that, your story begins. A story in English, a story that is yours. And that story deserves to be heard. Looking back, I still remember the boy who couldn't say a word in class. The boy who froze, who hid, who thought English was too big for him. That boy was me, but he is not me now. Now stand tall. I speak clearly. I help others. I know what it feels like to be afraid and to break free. English did not just open doors. It opened my heart. It helped me grow into someone I'm proud of. Someone who isn't perfect, but is powerful. Now, when I speak English, I feel something new. Not fear, not shame, but freedom, joy, expression, connection, life. I've learned that every voice matters. Every accent has a story. Every broken sentence is still a brave sentence. If you are watching this and feel scared to speak, I want you to hear me now. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are beginning. The voice inside you is waiting. Don't silence it. Don't wait for perfect grammar. Don't wait for confidence to find you. Speak now. Start small. Say your name. Say what you ate today. Say how you feel. Say one true sentence. And then say another, and another. Some people may not understand. Some might correct you. Some might laugh. But many will listen. Many will support. Many will be inspired. Because you were brave. And courage always speaks louder than grammar. Your mistakes are not the end, they are the path. Leo once told me, "Perfection is the enemy of progress," I say. Fear is the shadow of your potential. Step past it. See who you are. When you speak English, you're not just learning a language. You're learning to believe in yourself, to share your story with the world. Each time I spoke, even with fear, I built a new part of myself. I wasn't just learning verbs. I was building confidence, one sentence at a time. Sometimes I still make mistakes. Sometimes I pause too long, but I don't hide anymore. I speak. I show up. I try again. That is enough. When you speak with effort, people feel your heart. That's what they remember, not the grammar, not the accent, but the courage. Your journey is not too slow. Your progress is not too small. If you keep going, you are already ahead of everyone who stays silent. You may not notice the change day by day, but one day, you will look back and you won't recognize the person you used to be. You will see growth. You will see power. You will see the voice you once feared becoming the voice you now trust. And that voice can lift others too. Just like Leo lifted me. Just like I lifted Max. Just like your story will lift someone else. So speak today. Not later. Not someday. Today. Because your voice has waited long enough. It's time to let it out into the world. Record your voice. Read a short story out loud. Join a group. Send a message. Talk to your mirror. Talk to your friend. Talk to yourself. Every word you speak is a seed of confidence, a seed of change, a seed that grows into something powerful with time and care. Don't compare your English to others. Compare it to your silence. Compare it to your yesterday. That is the real progress. That is the real win. And one day, you will wake up and speak without fear. You will laugh at your old doubts. You will say, I did it. I kept going. I found my voice. That voice will carry you through interviews, friendships, travels, dreams. It will be your passport to the world. And you earned it. The more I spoke, the more I saw how powerful language can be. English didn't just help me get a job or make friends. It helped me see myself. I started to believe in who I was, not just as an English learner, but as a human being who has something to say. And people were listening. I joined more international groups. I gave small talks. I helped beginners. And I kept recording short messages to encourage others. One day, I was invited to speak at a local event. They said, "Daniel, we want you to share your journey. It will inspire others." I froze for a second. The old fear came back, but I knew what to do. I smiled, nodded, and said yes. This time, fear didn't win. This time, I was ready. I prepared my story. I practiced every day. I didn't memorize it. I felt it. I lived it again through each word I spoke out loud. When the day came, stood in front of 100 people. My heart beat fast, but my voice was steady. I told them everything. About the fear, about the silence, about the mirror, about Leo, about Max, about me. I saw tears. I saw smiles. I saw hope. After the talk, a young man came to me. He said, "I haven't spoken English in years, but now, I want to try." Shook his hand and said, "Start today." That moment stayed with me, because it wasn't about me anymore. It was about what we can become when we stop waiting and start speaking. After that event, I started receiving invitations from schools, online classes, and global language communities. They wanted to hear my voice, not because I was famous, not because I spoke perfect English, but because my story made people feel seen. And that became my mission. I wanted every learner to know your voice is valid. Your story is powerful. Your progress is beautiful, even if it's slow. So I built a channel. I posted one short video every week. I told a real story. I gave one message: keep going, keep speaking. At first, only a few people watched. Then more came, and more. Now, people from 50 countries send me voice messages. They say, "Daniel, I spoke today." Each time I hear that, I remember my first voice recording. The fear, the shaking voice. And I smile, because that fear didn't last. But my voice did. I started a project called Speak Together. It was a weekly space where learners from all levels could speak without fear. No tests, no grades, just voices. In the first meeting, only 4 people came. I welcomed them with a big smile. We talked about our first English words, our favorite food, and our dreams. The next week, there were 10 people, then 20, then 50. Some spoke with fluency. Others used one-word answers. All were welcome. Speak Together grew into a family. We cheered for every sentence. We celebrated every mistake. We helped each other speak through fear. One evening, a girl from Japan said, "I've never spoken English in front of strangers, but here, I feel safe." We all clapped. She smiled and cried. That's when I knew this was bigger than me. It was about creating a space where people could grow, where courage came before grammar, where progress was measured not by tests, but by heartbeats. And in that room, every heartbeat mattered. I often think back to that classroom where I couldn't say a word. If I could speak to that boy now, I would say, "You're going to be okay." Now, I walk through the world with my voice by my side. I use it to teach, to lift, to heal, not because it's perfect, because it's mine. In every voice I hear now, I listen differently. I hear not just sounds, but courage. I hear someone trying, someone growing, someone speaking anyway. I don't correct people when they speak with mistakes. I celebrate them. Because the hardest thing is not grammar, it's beginning. And the second hardest thing is continuing. So I clap for every small voice, every paused sentence, every broken word that comes from the heart. Because that is what English truly is. A bridge, a door, a tool, and most of all, a gift we give to ourselves and to others. If you are still listening to me now, I want to say this clearly. Your English is not bad. Your English is not late. Your English is alive. You are not behind. You are not too old. You are not too shy. You are right on time. And your story is just getting started. Today, you might say just one word. Tomorrow, one sentence. Next month, a full paragraph. Then one day, you'll surprise yourself. You'll be in a taxi, or a cafe, or an interview, and you'll realize you're speaking without fear. You're speaking like you. It will happen not because you're perfect, but because you didn't stop. Every time you speak, you build that voice, and it becomes stronger. Stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than the voice in your head that says, you can't, because you can. You just did. Every time you practice, you are changing your brain, your mouth, your heart, your life. That's the real power of English. You are not just learning a language. You are learning to stand tall, to express your heart, to connect with people from every corner of the world. Your English does not need to be perfect to be powerful. It only needs to be real, spoken with feeling, shared with honesty. Some people will tell you to wait until you're ready, but you don't have to wait. Read now, speak now, make mistakes now. It's all part of the process. The first sentence is always the hardest, but after that, it gets easier. Like walking, like riding a bike, like learning your first words as a child. And yes, sometimes you'll fall. Sometimes people won't understand. Sometimes your tongue will twist. But you will get up. You will continue. Because now, you know you are not alone. You are not the only one. And your voice belongs here. In this world. In this language. In this story. You are already a speaker. You have a voice. You have a message. You don't need permission to speak. You only need the courage to begin. Speak with your accent. Speak with your feelings. Speak even if you shake. Every word is a win. Every sentence is a small victory. You are not too late. You are exactly where you need to be. And this moment, right now, is the right time to begin again. If you ever feel lost, go back to your why. Why do you want to speak English? What does it mean to you? Who do you want to talk to? Someone out there is waiting to hear what you have to say, and they can only hear it if you speak it. Say it, share it, shine. Sometimes your voice will rise with confidence. Other times it will tremble. But both are voices that matter. Both are progress. You don't need the perfect sentence to make a connection. You just need to speak with honesty. That's what people remember. Real English is not what you hear in movies. It's what happens in daily life. It's messy. It's human. It's trying again. When I first started, I thought fluency was the goal. But now no, confidence is the goal. Clarity, connection, courage. Your first sentence won't be perfect. Neither was mine. But it will be powerful. Because it's yours. It comes from your story. Keep showing up for yourself. Don't just wait for the moment to be ready. Make the moment ready by speaking. Some days you'll feel strong. Some days you'll feel small. But even small words carry weight. Even short sentences carry truth. Every time you speak, you're building a habit, a pattern, a future version of you who speaks more freely, more often, more bravely. The Daniel who speaks now is not the Daniel from 5 years ago. And the you from tomorrow will not be the same as today. That's why we speak, not because we are ready, but because we want to grow. And growth doesn't wait for permission. You are part of a global voice now. Millions learning, millions trying. You're not the only one, and you're never alone. I used to think I had to hide my mistakes. Now, no, my mistakes made me relatable. My struggles became my bridges. I started learning English because I wanted to pass exams. But I kept learning because I wanted to connect. So if you feel tired, pause. But don't stop. Rest is part of progress. And silence can still carry power if it leads you to speak again. Speak even if your grammar is broken. Speak even if your accent is strong. What matters is that your words are true. We are not building perfect speakers. We are building bold speakers, brave speakers, speakers who speak with their full self. There are still days when I feel nervous. But now, speak anyway. Not because I have no fear, but because I've trained my voice to show up. Let that be your goal, not to be perfect, but to be present. To bring your voice into the room. To say, I'm here, I'm learning, I'm trying, and that is more than enough. Let's keep going together. Let's keep speaking not just English, but truth, hope, and confidence. You don't need special words to sound smart. You just need true words to sound real. And that's what connects people. I used to worry, What if I say something wrong? But now I ask, what if I never say anything at all? Silence protects you, but it also hides you, and the world can't meet you if you stay hidden. So speak even if your voice is soft. It's not speed that builds confidence, it's courage. You become fluent word by word, try by try, mistake by mistake. Learning English is not about showing off, it's about showing up, not once, but again and again, even when it's hard. So if today you feel stuck, if the words don't come, don't quit. Just pause, breathe, and try again. That's what I did. That's what I still do. Because I know something now. Don't speak because I'm ready. I speak to become ready. I speak to become myself. This is not the end of your journey. This is where your voice starts to grow stronger. This is where your words begin to reach further. So keep going, keep showing up, because what's ahead is even greater than what's behind. And I'll tell you why in the next part. In the next part of my journey, something changed. I no longer saw English as something I had to fight. I started to enjoy it. It became part of me, like a new way to see the world, like a new part of my identity. I didn't just study English, I lived it. I started hearing English in music, in signs, in conversations at the market. I noticed how people expressed ideas, how they used rhythm and tone, and I started to play with the language. I tried saying things different ways. I explored how to describe my day, my feelings, my dreams. It felt like painting, but with words. Sometimes I used the wrong color. Sometimes the picture was messy, but it was mine, and I loved that. One day, I recorded a video of myself speaking about something simple, my morning routine. I posted it online. I was nervous, but I hit upload. That small video got 5 likes, then 10. Then someone commented, "You speak with feeling." Thank you for sharing. That comment stayed with me. It wasn't about my grammar. It wasn't about my mistakes. It was about the connection, the realness, the courage to share. So I made another video. This time I talked about my favorite book. I didn't plan much. I just spoke. I paused when I needed. I smiled when I felt it. And slowly, found joy in it. Joy in speaking. Joy in being heard. Joy in knowing that my voice didn't need to be perfect to be powerful. People started sending me messages. I felt the same way, learning too. Your story helps me. These weren't fans, they were fellow learners. And that's when I realized we're all in this together. Not in a race, not in a test, but in a journey. A shared, human journey of expression. The more I shared, the more I understood myself. Every video, every message, every try it shaped not just my English, but my confidence. Some days I felt shy again. Some days I didn't want to speak, but I reminded myself, this is part of growing. It's okay to feel nervous. So I showed up anyway. Even when my words felt slow, even when my sentences weren't clear, I spoke. I kept going, and each time, I grew stronger. I learned that mistakes don't erase progress. They prove you're trying. They show you're human. They remind you that learning is messy and beautiful. At the local library, they invited me to help beginners practice English. I said yes, not because I felt ready, but because I knew how they felt. I sat with them. I listened. I smiled. I said, "You're doing great. Keep going," and I meant it. Because I had needed those same words once. One woman looked at me and said, "You speak like someone who understands." I nodded. "I do," I said, "because I was you." And that's the truth. We don't grow apart. We grow together. When we speak, when we listen, when we share, we grow. That day, I walked home smiling. Not because I was perfect, but because I had helped someone else speak their truth. That evening, I recorded another video. This time, shared that story, about the woman in the library, about how far we can come when we keep speaking. It wasn't a perfect video. I paused. I searched for words, but it was honest, and people felt it. The comment said, "I cried. This is real. Thank you." Since then, I've kept recording. Not because I want followers, but because I want to remind others what I once needed to hear. You're not alone. We are all learning. We are all brave. And the bravest thing we can do is speak up. Even when our voice shakes. Speak not just to be heard, but to be real. One of the best things about learning English is realizing you're not alone. Every person you meet has a story behind their voice. Some speak with strength, others speak with softness, but all of them carry the same courage, the courage to be heard. When I joined my first online language group, I thought I was just there to practice, but it became much more than that. It became a family, people from different countries, different cultures, all sharing their voices. We laughed at our mistakes. We celebrated small wins. We didn't just learn grammar, we learned each other. We learned that behind every accent, there's a human trying to connect. One man from Turkey shared how he was scared to speak in meetings. A girl from Brazil said she never said a word in class. I understood them. Because I had been there too. I told them, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to try. That's how it starts. And week by week, we all spoke more. We made mistakes. We laughed. We improved. Not just in language, but in confidence. Confidence doesn't come all at once. It grows like a plant. Slowly, quietly, but it grows if you feed it. If you water it with words. And that group watered me. Every hello, every shared sentence, every brave try. I left each meeting feeling a little taller. Some people think English is just about words and rules, but I learned it's really about connection, about listening, about saying me too. When someone shared a story, I felt closer to them. Even if their English wasn't perfect, their meaning was clear, their heart was clear. That made me brave too. I started sharing things I never thought I would, like how scared I used to feel, and how proud I was to keep going. People didn't laugh. They nodded. They smiled. Some said, that's my story too. And I realized something important: your story helps others feel less alone. You don't need big words to make a big impact. Sometimes a simple, honest sentence can change someone's day or their life. I stopped trying to impress people with perfect grammar. I started trying to connect with real stories, with real emotion. And that changed everything. I spoke slower. I used simpler words. But people listened more. They felt what I said. They remembered it. One day, someone said, Daniel, when you speak, you make me feel calm. Like I can breathe. That stayed with me. Because I used to feel the opposite. Later, that same person messaged me and said, I spoke today because I saw your video. I sat with that message for a long time. Because it reminded me of how Leo once made me feel. Strong, capable, seen, and now was passing that on. That's how learning spreads. Not just from books, but from voices. From courage shared between strangers who become friends. I no longer counted my grammar mistakes. I started counting the smiles, the thank yous, the understand you moments. That's when I knew something important was happening. Not just to me, but to all of us. We weren't just speaking English anymore. We were becoming braver people. We were learning to show up, to speak up, and the journey was far from over. After that moment, something inside me felt different. I didn't just believe in English anymore, believed in myself. It wasn't about speaking like a native. It was about speaking like me. Honest, human, here. And that feeling stayed with me. Every time I showed up to speak, I felt stronger, not louder, just clearer, like I finally knew what I wanted to say. I started leading more sessions. I didn't plan big lessons. I just showed up and said, let's talk, and people came. People spoke. They shared how scared they were, and I said, me too. And then we talked anyway. That's what made it powerful. Not the words, but the will to keep going. One of my favorite moments was when a man named Tom said, this is the first time I've finished a full story in English. We all clapped. Not because his grammar was perfect, but because his story was true. And when people speak from truth, the whole room listens. I began noticing how different everyone was, but how similar we felt. Nervous, excited, brave, trying. Every week, more people joined. And every week, we made space. Space to fail, space to laugh, space to say, I don't know the word, but I'll try anyway. That kind of space is rare. But in English, we created it together, one word at a time, one voice at a time. Sometimes people joined the group and said nothing, just listen. But after a few weeks, they whispered their first sentence. and we all cheered. Because we knew what it took to speak that first word. We knew what it felt like to break the silence. And that made every word special. I didn't see shy people or strong people. I saw speakers. People with stories. People with courage. People like me. And little by little saw leadership in myself. Not because I had all the answers, but because I stayed present. Because I believed in others. I told everyone, you don't have to wait until you feel ready. Speak now. Ready will meet you on the way, and they did. They spoke. Some still said, sorry for my bad English, but I always replied, there's no bad English here. There's only trying, and that became our rule. Trying was success. Showing up was victory. Even one word was a win. We counted effort, not errors. And that made us free. Over time, the group grew into something beautiful. People didn't just practice English. They practiced kindness, listening, support. I saw people helping each other find words, saying, take your time, or, I feel the same, and that made the group feel like home. We were all learners, but we were also teachers, because every time you try, you give someone else permission to try too. I learned how to guide without pressure, how to encourage without correcting every detail, how to let people discover their own voice. One night, someone said, I've never felt so safe speaking before. It didn't say much. I just smiled and said, you belong here. And I meant it, because I did, too. We all did. This wasn't a class. It was a circle, a place where we all mattered. I didn't plan for any of this to happen. I just kept showing up. Speaking when I could, listening when others needed it, and slowly, without noticing, I became part of something bigger than me, a movement of everyday voices, learning to be loud with love. As time went on, more people started reaching out, not just from my group, but from around the world. They found my videos, they shared their stories. A young man from India said, I play your voice before my job interview. It calms me down. A woman from Italy wrote, you sound like someone I can trust. Their words surprised me, because I never thought my voice could go that far. I never imagined I could help someone I'd never met, and yet, it was happening. Because I kept speaking, not perfectly, not fast, just honestly, just openly. So I kept posting. I made it simple. One video, one story, one honest moment. That was enough. That was more than enough. I talked about the first time I spoke English in public. I shared how nervous I was, how I forgot simple words, how my hands shook. And people commented, me too, thought I was the only one. Thank you for saying this out loud. That's when I realized my fear had value. It wasn't something to hide. It was something to share, because fear connects us. It reminds us that we're human, that we're not alone. I didn't need to teach everything. I just needed to tell the truth, to speak from experience, and people listened, because truth speaks clearly. My page started growing, but I didn't focus on numbers. I focused on people. Every message, every thank you, every, I spoke today because of you. One man from Kenya wrote, I showed your video to my English class. We all felt more confident after watching it. That made me pause. Because now, my words were not just helping individuals. They were reaching classrooms, families, communities. That humbled me. I never wanted to be a teacher, but maybe being honest makes you one. Not because you have answers, but because you've lived the questions. I kept my videos simple. I used subtitles. I slowed down. I smiled. I didn't perform. I just spoke. And people kept listening. Then one day, I got invited to speak in an online conference for language learners. They said, we want to hear your story. Just be yourself. I said yes. But I was nervous again. The old feelings came back. But this time, I welcomed them. Because nervous means you care. So I joined the call. I told my story. I didn't use fancy words. I just said, I used to be afraid. Now I speak anyway. And when I looked at the screen, I saw faces smiling. I saw people nodding. I saw hearts saying, me too, and I smiled back. After the call, someone messaged me, you didn't just speak English. You spoke hope. I didn't know how to reply. I just said, thank you for listening. because that's what I had learned. You don't need to change the world in one speech. You just need to speak honestly enough to reach one heart. And though I didn't plan any of this, I now understand what it gave me. A voice, a purpose, a community, a home in a language I once feared. And this story, it's still going. Because somewhere out there, someone is still afraid to speak. And maybe one word from us is all they need to start. So if you've listened this far, I want to say something simple but true. Your voice matters, just as it is. Today, not later, not someday, now. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need a special accent. You need courage. The kind you already have. The kind you've always had. Every try, every pause, every sentence you speak is proof that you're growing, that you're brave, that you're alive. The world is full of noise, but your voice is not just another sound. It's your story, and stories like yours make people feel less alone. That's what happened to me. I heard someone else speak. I felt seen. I felt understood. I felt invited to speak too. And now, I'm passing that on. Because someone out there is waiting for your voice, your story, your sentence, the one that makes them feel brave enough to begin. So speak with your heart. Speak even if your hands shake. Speak even if your grammar breaks. Because your truth is stronger than any mistake. Let your first word lead to another. Let that become a sentence. Let that sentence carry hope. And let that hope move someone else to speak. That's what happened to me. I was scared. I was silent. And then I said one word. And then another. And now, I'm here with you. We are not just learning English. We are learning to believe, to connect, to be proud, to show up as we are, and say, this is me. If I could go back and speak to the younger version of me, the one who stayed quiet in class, I would say this. It's okay to be scared. Just don't stay silent. Speak even if you shake. Speak even if it takes time. One day, that small voice will carry someone else forward. Just like Leo did for me. You don't have to change the world. Just change one moment, one connection, one conversation. That's how real change begins. Your English doesn't need to be fast. It needs to be true. Speak at your speed. Share at your level. That's enough. You're enough. And on the days you feel small again, remember this story. Remember this voice. Remember that I was scared too, and I spoke anyway. Now, it's your turn. Your chapter begins here. Your voice can help someone. Your story is worth sharing, and you are ready. So don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for tomorrow. Speak now. Speak honestly. Speak proudly, because someone out there needs to hear you. So from me to you, thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for staying. Thank you for believing, even just a little bit. This journey was mine, but now, it's also yours. Because every time someone listens, the story continues. Someone out there is waiting to understand you. Someone is waiting to feel seen. Someone is waiting for you to say, I'm trying too. I started this journey afraid to speak. I end it proud that I did. Not because I was perfect, but because I showed up. And now, you can too. So take a deep breath. Say it out loud. Say it in your way. Let your voice rise. Because it matters. Because it's real. Because it's yours. Thank you for listening until the end. Thank you for spending this time with me. I hope this story helped you feel stronger. I hope it reminded you that you are not alone. Your time means a lot to me. Your courage means even more. Keep speaking. Keep trying. And thank you for being here.